It is great to have you back here on our station. Henley appeared to be a million miles away from the chaotic world of Fleetwood Mac, which appealed to Nicks, who was still recovering from her tumultuous split with Lindsey Buckingham. At their height, the Eagles embodied rock's serene authority, and Henley stood out as a sane voice amidst the industry's frequent anarchy with his beautiful, thoughtful songs. His constant presence was either a balm or a refuge from the relentless emotional storms that were raging within Stevie's own band. Their romance was fraught with difficulties from the beginning, despite the obvious chemistry between them. As pivotal members of two of the world's most famous rock bands, they were both juggling incredibly busy lives. They barely had time to develop a private life together because of the never-ending tours, studio sessions, and constant public scrutiny. The demands of their jobs began to entwine with their passionate love, and they were frequently separated at the same moment they were growing closer due to the hectic nature of their schedules. In the face of adversity, they held on to each other, sharing brief moments of solace that nourished their bond despite the seeming pull of their separate worlds. Even though Henley's extravagant gestures may have seemed like love odes to Stevie, they caused problems in her own world with Fleetwood Mac. The tension inside the band was further heightened by his extravagant displays of gift-giving and note-writing. Henley's presence elicited a frigid response from Stevie's ex-boyfriend Buckingham, who had never fully accepted their split. The bandmates were always making fun of Nicks, and one time they even planted love letters from Dawn in her garden, which just served to heighten the strain. The already convoluted internal dynamics of Fleetwood Mac became even more so as Henley's presence in her life became a flashpoint for pre-existing jealousy, unresolved disputes, and unspoken grudges, endangering the band's precarious harmony. The protagonist, Nicks, was ultimately torn between two realities. Henley hinted at a relationship based on stability and comprehension, but she remained bound to a life of strife due to her devotion to Fleetwood Mac and her unresolved history with Buckingham. While their romance was a lovely diversion, it also served to heighten tensions within her band. When Nicks became suddenly pregnant in 1979, it was a pivotal and tragic time in their partnership with Henley. Her choice to terminate the pregnancy was heavy, and it weighed heavily on their relationship, which was already characterized by an agonizing sacrifice. Choosing wasn't a picnic. Nicks subsequently admitted that, although she had hoped to have a family, her life had been a frantic blur of stardom, constant touring, and drugs. Nicks drew the line between her family and the career that had defined her due to the demands of Fleetwood Mac, which left little room for a mother's life. She feared having to choose. Scars were left on both Nicks and Henley by this extremely personal decision. Nicks said in interviews that she occasionally wished she could go back in time and change some things. She wrote Sarah, one of her most evocative and heartbreaking songs, in response to the deep impact of the experience. Sarah subsequently stated that the song, which she later referred to as her most personal work, drew on her history with Henley, her complicated feelings, and the notion of a life that might have been. Part of the song, according to Henley, was a memorial to their unborn child, while the song was not solely about the pregnancy. This conviction imbued the song with a bittersweet quality, capturing the essence of the love and grief that had irrevocably changed their relationship. Henley would also think of Sarah's importance as he realized that Nicks had accepted and even welcomed the complexity of her existence. The thought that the song included fragments of their common past persisted in his mind. Sarah brought back memories of their shared past and the dreams they had let go of to him. Sarah was an emotional artifact from their shared past, a song that brought them together despite their differences and the pain they had both experienced. Life had other plans for them, but Sarah remained a constant. In the years that followed, Henley couldn't help but think back on the intense times they had shared whenever Sarah's voice came on. Those memories would always be there, encapsulated in the words and music of a song that only they could truly comprehend. Nicks and Henley had been together for a long time by 1981, and their journey had been filled with passion, heartache, and enduring love. Leather and Lace, a duet they wrote together, became an emotional and public declaration about their relationship's ups and downs, marking the end of their journey together. Nicks had intended for the song to be a love ballad for country music greats Jesse Coulter and Waylon Jennings. The lyrics, however, became an eerie mirror of her own love story with Henley as the emotional burden of their relationship increased. The soft melody and Henley's soulful harmonies created the ideal setting for their harmonized voices, which conveyed a mix of vulnerability and melancholy that touched listeners to their core. With each song that captured the vulnerability of their connection and the sacrifices they had made, Nicks and Henley poured their shared past into every syllable. In a manner that words alone were unable to convey, the song provided Nicks with a means of processing their love and sorrow, while also retaining the intricate emotional nature of their time together. Giving a performance of Leather and Lace was like going back in time. It brought to light the raw emotions and vulnerability that had characterized their relationship in the past. Audiences could sense the sincerity of the bond between the singer and the song's subject, a bond that had endured trials while maintaining a kindness and empathy. The duet was more than just a performance for Henley. It was a way for him to finally put his love for the lady he had previously loved behind him. As he stood on stage next to Nicks, he could feel the lingering effects of their once great love affair reflected in the song they had written together. It was as if with each chorus they immortalized a moment from their shared past, offering listeners a window into their personal lives. Soft and delicate, the result was an enduring tribute to their complex connection. Each performance served as a poignant reminder of a love that was powerful even after death. As the passion in their relationship faded, Stevie Nicks and Don Henley became friends for life. Once driven by intense emotions and a complicated past, their bond has since evolved into one of deep historical commonality, mutual regard, and understanding. Imagine these two rock icons, who have both been through difficult times and sacrificed a lot for one another, performing on stage together again, this time as friends rather than lovers. As a result of their shared past, they formed an unusual bond that allowed them to share in each other's victories and sorrows and comprehend the enormity of their own sacrifices. Nicks said in interviews that Henley was one of the only people who had come to know her for more than just her public persona and what the media had painted her as. She once said that no matter what happened in their relationship, she knew she could always rely on Henley since he was a loyal friend. In response, Henley spoke highly of Nicks, praising her enormous skill and recalling the many happy times they had together during their time together on tour and in the studio. Nicks was more than just a former flame to Henley. She was a significant figure whose influence had stayed with him forever, and he treasured her company. Even though their relationship had ended romantically, their rare onstage reunions were a reminder of the strong tie they shared, going beyond mere musical performances. There was an electricity in the air every time they took the stage together, as if the magic and nostalgia of their previous relationships had resurfaced. They seemed to be reliving the love, loss, and lessons they had shared at those very moments. Witnessing their chemistry gave viewers a window into a unique, bittersweet bond that had been forged through pain yet had endured. In the end, Nicks and Henley's relationship was a formative emotional experience for both of them. It affected their professional lives and how they viewed love and loyalty. Nicks' professional and personal relationships were impacted by her decision to focus on music instead of a typical family life. This choice resounded in her lyrics. Despite this, she remained steadfast in her conviction that the music she composed might provide solace to many, reaching far beyond her personal hardships. The solace her music offered to others was enough to make Nicks' sacrifices worthwhile. Also, Henley was there for her the whole way, showing that love's effects last, no matter how it evolves throughout the years. Their unity is a symbol of the strength of two artists who, despite the ups and downs of stardom and tragedy, managed to keep their memories alive and continue to create work.